A millionaire disguises himself as a poor man and discovers a waitress who would change his life. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Lucas Martins was a successful millionaire, obsessed with quality and impeccable service. When complaints arose about one of his restaurant locations, he decided to take action personally. To avoid drawing attention, he chose to go undercover and experience the place as a regular customer. Dressed simply, Lucas entered the restaurant on a cloudy afternoon. The rustic decor had potential, but it was clear the place needed more care. Misaligned tables and a floor that begged for a sweep. Before he could observe further, he was greeted by Clara, a young waitress who, despite being overwhelmed, offered a warm smile and a welcoming demeanor. Clara led him to a table by the window and continued attending to other customers. Lucas quickly noticed her tireless efforts, moving back and forth with efficiency and agility, clearly compensating for the lack of staff. Even with visible signs of exhaustion, she made a point of asking customers if they needed anything else, always maintaining her friendly attitude. As Lucas observed, he sensed the tension in the environment. A stern-looking manager barked orders at Clara without any recognition or encouragement. Still, she carried on with dedication and professionalism. Lucas ordered a simple dish and used the waiting time to analyze the service and dynamics of the place. When the dish arrived, Clara, though hurried, made sure to check if everything was fine. Lucas replied positively, and she smiled with relief, showing how much she valued customer satisfaction. He noticed that, despite Clara's hard work, the management seemed to be the root of the restaurant's issues. Upon leaving, Lucas was certain of one thing: Clara was the pillar holding that place together. But he needed to dig deeper to fully understand what was going on. Determined, Lucas promised to return and find solutions, starting with learning more about the humble and dedicated waitress who had impressed him so much. Clara had always believed that life was full of ups and downs, but in recent years, it seemed like the downs had piled up too high. At 28 years old, she was a single mother to two adorable twin boys, João and Miguel, just 4 years old. When she discovered she was pregnant, she had thought her boyfriend would stand by her. But reality hit hard. He left as soon as he found out, running from responsibility without looking back. Since then, Clara had devoted herself to her children. They were her greatest joy and strength, giving her the determination to face each day. Often, she wondered if life would ever get easier, but she quickly reminded herself she wasn't alone. She had her boys, and that was more than enough for her. Clara started working at the restaurant to make ends meet. Her daily routine was a whirlwind. Early in the morning, she dropped her boys off at the neighborhood daycare and rushed to catch the bus to work. The pay wasn't much, but she did everything she could to give her children the best life possible. At work, Clara was known for her kindness and the way she treated every customer who walked through the door. To her, each guest was special, and she made a point to greet everyone with the same sincere smile. Perhaps that's why many regular customers always asked to sit in her section. It made a difference to feel genuinely cared for by someone who seemed truly invested in providing excellent service. Even so, her days at the restaurant were challenging. The staff was short-handed, and the manager didn't make things any easier. He was always on her case, criticizing minor details and never acknowledging her hard work. Clara, however, chose not to let it bring her down. Deep inside, she held on to the hope that her dedication would be recognized someday. From his very first visit, Lucas had been closely observing all of this. In his disguise as an ordinary customer, he went unnoticed but grew increasingly fascinated by Clara's work ethic. It was clear that despite the difficulties, she maintained an exemplary attitude, and it was impossible to ignore the positive energy she brought to the room, even amid daily challenges. One day, Lucas witnessed a situation where another customer complained, seemingly without reason. Clara handled the complaint with the calmest and most professional demeanor Lucas had ever seen. With a smile, she patiently listened to the customer and did her best to resolve the issue. Lucas knew it wasn't easy to remain composed in such situations, but Clara made it seem effortless. Every visit left Lucas more intrigued. How could someone stay so focused and kind in such a demanding environment? Then it dawned on him there was more to Clara than he had imagined. For her, it wasn't just a job, it was a mission. Through every small act of kindness and focus, Clara seemed to be trying to make the world a better place, even if it was only within the small space of the restaurant. And that's what kept Lucas coming back. There was something about Clara that inspired him, a kind of spark that wasn't often seen. He wasn't yet sure what to do with these observations, but he knew that Clara would have to be a vital part of the solution he envisioned for the restaurant. He had begun to see her not just as an exemplary employee, but as a model of resilience and kindness in a world that often seemed indifferent. Days went by, and Lucas continued visiting the restaurant in disguise, growing more impressed by Clara with each visit. But one day, the atmosphere was different. The restaurant was bustling, with tables occupied in every corner. Clara was rushing back and forth, trying to serve everyone with her usual warmth. From his usual table, Lucas watched her every move with concern. He knew that when the kitchen was swamped with orders, Clara needed support, but it was clear that support wouldn't come from the manager. That's when Roberto, the manager, stepped in. His very demeanor gave away the kind of person he was. Confident, perhaps too much so, as if always on the lookout for someone to blame for his frustrations. Lucas felt the tension in the air as Roberto approached Clara. "Faster, Clara. That VIP table is complaining again." Roberto barked, his aggressive tone drawing surprised glances from nearby customers. "I'm doing my best, Roberto. The kitchen is swamped and—" Clara began, but he cut her off, his voice dripping with disdain. "Your best isn't good enough. The rich customers are the reason this place stays open. If you can't handle them, maybe you should find another job," Roberto said, his cold eyes locked on hers. Clara tried to stay composed, but Lucas could see the hurt in her eyes. She hesitated, searching for the right words, but Roberto continued his tirade. "And don't forget, treating regular customers well is just a detail. What matters is the money they bring in. Now, do your job right, or you know the consequences." His words cut Clara like a knife. "Yes, sir. I'll do my best," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. Clearly, she was fighting back tears, and Lucas couldn't bear to watch any longer. A knot formed in his stomach as he saw Clara's pain. It was as if the injustice was screaming in his ears. "Roberto, that's not fair," Lucas said loudly, standing up from his table. Even he was surprised by his boldness. What would he do now? Reveal his identity or keep up his disguise? Roberto turned to Lucas with the expression of someone who disliked being interrupted by customers. "And you are?" he asked, his tone sarcastic and dismissive. "Just a customer, but I can't sit here and watch you treat an employee with such disrespect. She deserves better than this," Lucas said, feeling his words barely scratch the surface of what he wanted to say. Clara looked at Lucas, surprised and nervous. "You don't have to." Clara began, but Lucas silenced her with a gesture. "Sorry, Clara. I can't stay quiet," he said firmly. Roberto looked between Clara and Lucas as if assessing whether the situation was worth his attention. "Listen, buddy, things run according to my rules here. If you don't like it, you're free to leave. But Clara needs to learn to prioritize the customers who really matter," Roberto said, his arrogance evident. A wave of anger surged through Lucas. "Do you think a person's worth is measured by how much money they have?" he asked. "If you can't respect your staff, then you're the one who needs to reevaluate. Clara works hard to serve everyone, and she doesn't deserve to be treated like this." Clara, still visibly upset, felt a mix of gratitude and concern for Lucas. She didn't want him to be targeted by someone as aggressive as Roberto. "Please, don't argue for me," she said, placing a hand on his arm. "It's better to let it go." "No, Clara," Lucas said, determined. "It's time someone stood up." Roberto, however, wasn't willing to let the matter go. "If you have a problem, you're welcome to leave and not come back. We don't need customers meddling in our business," Roberto said, crossing his arms in a defiant stance. Lucas took a deep breath, aware that he was in a tough spot. He wanted to help Clara, but it was clear that any move he made could escalate the situation. Keeping his gaze steady, he replied, "You know, Roberto, I might leave, but not without saying that you're the reason this restaurant might be losing customers. One day, someone will need to look in the mirror and ask why the staff are always unhappy." Roberto frowned, but Lucas didn't waver. He turned to Clara, who still looked visibly shaken. Clara, please remember how much your dedication means to everyone here. Your work is valuable. Don't let him make you feel otherwise. Roberto was losing patience. Enough. You're not here to lecture us. If you don't like my rules, you're more than welcome to leave the restaurant, he snapped. Maybe I should, Lucas said, starting to walk away. He could feel his frustration building. In front of him stood a woman struggling to do her job, and he couldn't just stay silent. But I'm not the only one who sees this. Customers who feel mistreated will notice, and when they leave, that's on you. Clara didn't know where to look. She felt torn between worrying about the situation and feeling grateful for Lucas standing up for her. Lucas, you might get yourself into trouble here, she whispered anxiously. He can be very spiteful. Maybe it's time for things to change, Clara. You deserve to work in a place where you're treated with respect and dignity. No one should have to endure what you've been through, Lucas assured her, his eyes still locked on Roberto. That's enough talking, Roberto shouted, completely losing his composure. If you don't leave right now, I'll call security. Lucas took another deep breath, realizing the situation was spinning out of control. He gave Clara a look of understanding, sensing her growing concern about both the potential call to security and the risk to her job. It's okay, Clara. I'll leave. But know this. I won't be intimidated by someone like you, Roberto. What you're doing here is shameful, and if you have any dignity, you'll reflect on it before it's too late, Lucas said before walking out. As he left, he felt a mix of relief and frustration. A part of him wished he could have done more, stood up even more firmly for Clara. But he knew that what he had done was at least a start. Back inside, Clara stood still, her heart racing. She longed for a sense of safety, but the scene had sparked something inside her. Lucas's words made her think more deeply about her situation. How much longer could she endure such humiliation? She knew she needed to take action. This wouldn't be the last time Lucas visited the restaurant. He couldn't walk away from the confrontation he had started. He had to find a way to help Clara, not just as a customer, but as someone committed to making the changes the place so desperately needed. After the embarrassing scene between Lucas and Roberto, not much changed in the restaurant's atmosphere. Clara still faced the same daily stress, but something within her felt different. Her determination had been renewed, even after the humiliation. Lucas, on the other hand, decided he wouldn't walk away. He wanted to continue supporting Clara, even if in subtle ways. With each visit, Lucas paid closer attention to the little things. One particularly busy day, he saw Clara trying to manage a large table while juggling a line of pending orders. Recognizing she was overwhelmed, Lucas decided to take a simple yet meaningful step. "Hi, Clara," he greeted as she approached, just before she reached his table. "Is there anything I can do to help? I'd be more than happy to assist." She looked a bit surprised. "Lucas? No, I don't want you to worry about that. It's just another busy day. Besides, the manager wouldn't like seeing a customer in the kitchen. I can handle it," Clara said, pressing her lips into a nervous smile. "Of course you can. But don't worry, Roberto won't see me. How about I go to the kitchen and grab a few drinks for you? That way, it's one less thing for you to worry about," Lucas insisted, trying to reassure her. She hesitated for a moment and then agreed, a genuine smile spreading across her face. "All right. If you think you can handle it," she joked, her eyes sparkling. Lucas stood up and headed to the kitchen. When he returned, he was carrying a few more drinks and felt relieved to see the gratitude on Clara's face as he handed them over. "Thank you, Lucas. You have no idea how much this helps," she said, clearly appreciating the simple gesture. Over time, Lucas continued making small gestures like these, and they began to form a subtle bond between them. He would often ask about Clara's kids, what they were learning at daycare, and if she had plans for the weekend. Clara spoke about them with a loving glow in her eyes, and Lucas enjoyed listening to every word. On a quiet day, as Lucas sat at his usual table, he noticed Clara sitting in a chair in the corner of the restaurant, looking exhausted. "Hey, Clara, how are you feeling today?" Lucas asked, quickly standing and walking over to her. "Oh, Lucas, you didn't have to leave your table because of me," she replied, trying to mask her fatigue. "I'm here for this. You don't look well. Is the workload too heavy?" She sighed, seeming for a moment like she might open up. "Just a bit tired, you know. It's hard dealing with how the manager behaves. The pressure never lets up. It's always something, and he never offers any recognition, only criticism," Clara said, a hint of sadness in her eyes. "That's not fair, Clara. You work so hard, and yet you're treated like this." Lucas replied, anger stirring inside him at the injustice. "I know, but what can I do? I need this job to take care of my kids. I can't just quit." Clara sighed, her voice filled with despair. "Sometimes I just wish things could be easier. For me and for them." Lucas looked at her, realizing that his feelings for her were growing stronger with each passing moment. "You're an incredible woman, Clara. I admire your strength. I know it's not easy, but you're not alone. I'm here, and I'll do everything I can to help," he said sincerely. Clara gave him a soft smile, clearly moved by his words. "Thank you, Lucas. Having someone who cares really makes a difference. Being a single mom is a constant struggle. I have to hold everything together for my kids." Lucas paused, using this moment of connection to observe her more closely. He began to notice just how much pressure Clara was under every day, how it showed in the tired smile and the dark circles under her eyes. Yet she carried on with an inner strength that he found deeply admirable. It inspired him to act. "Maybe one day you'll have your own restaurant, a place where you're truly valued," Lucas said, looking deeply into her eyes. "That would be a dream, Lucas, but it's hard to have faith in a dream when reality is so harsh," Clara replied, lowering her gaze as though the words were too heavy to carry her hopes. "What if I told you that every big achievement starts with a dream?" Lucas asked, gently taking her hand. "Have you ever thought about what your own restaurant would look like? How would you imagine it?" Clara looked at him, puzzled. "A dream is nice, but reality? Just managing things here is hard enough. I'm not sure I could actually do it." "I believe you could, Clara. You have an incredible gift for making people feel welcome. That's something rare," Lucas said, encouraging her. "The way you care for every customer is something most restaurant managers never learn." For a moment, Clara's expression brightened, and Lucas felt he had touched a part of her she rarely revealed. "Do you really think I could do it? A place where people feel welcomed?" she asked, a timid glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Absolutely. You already do it every day. You deserve a place where your efforts are truly appreciated. And imagine your kids growing up in a space where you're the boss, where your vision is respected. That would be inspiring for them too," Lucas said, his tone filled with encouragement. She stared at him with a mix of disbelief and emotion in her eyes. "I don't have the resources. It's the kind of life most people can only dream about," Clara said, her voice faltering with emotion. Lucas shook his head, determined. "Well, dreaming doesn't cost anything, but what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you want to go, and I want to help you get there if you'll let me." Clara smiled, though her eyes were still slightly misty. "That's very kind of you, Lucas. I'm not sure I deserve so much faith. It's not about worthiness. It's about potential. You have so much to offer, Clara." He replied with conviction, "And I'll be here to support whatever path you choose." As they talked, Lucas realized their connection was growing stronger. The empathy in their words, the glances exchanged, and even the moments of silence spoke louder than 1,000 words. "Thank you. Sometimes, just hearing that you have friends can make all the difference," Clara finally said, her confidence beginning to shine again. "I feel like I'm not so alone after all." "You're definitely not alone," Lucas responded, his heart warming at Clara's vulnerability. "I'm here for whatever you need, and the more time I spend here, the more I see how special you are." At that moment, Clara smiled genuinely, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. "Maybe I should dream a little more. And who knows, maybe one day this small talk will become a reality." Lucas felt that together they were starting to shape something meaningful. He had the means to support, and Clara was beginning to see that her dreams were valid. Together they could create a better future, not just for her, but for everyone around them. As their conversation continued, Clara felt stronger. She was no longer just a waitress under pressure, but a woman with the possibility to dream. And as she looked at Lucas, she saw someone willing to walk alongside her, encouraging her to believe in herself. Should we add a little fun for those reading the comments? Write fried chicken in the comments. Only those who read this far will understand. Now, back to the story. As days passed, Lucas couldn't get Clara out of his mind. Each visit to the restaurant only reinforced his need to do something to change her situation. He was increasingly troubled by the oppressive environment Clara worked in, and Roberto's arrogant attitude weighed on his conscience. Lucas needed a plan, but how could he confront the issue without revealing his identity? Sitting at his usual table, Lucas began jotting down ideas on a napkin. He wanted to create a fairer environment for Clara and the staff, but his mind was torn between acting quickly and revealing who he really was before he was ready. If I just fire Roberto, what will happen to Clara? And what if I'm rejected? It could even make things worse for her. Lucas thought, nervously running his pencil over the paper. Meanwhile, Clara was fighting her own battles. Stress was knocking on her door not only at work, but also at home. Bills were piling up, and the boys' daycare had raised its rates. How am I going to handle this? Clara murmured to herself as she prepared dinner, her thoughts swirling like a storm. How can I keep working without feeling so drained? One evening, Clara sat at the table with the twins, trying to keep a smile on her face as they played. Joelle looked at her curiously and asked, "Mommy, why do you look so serious? Isn't the restaurant fun?" Clara's heart sank at the question. "Oh, my loves, sometimes work can be hard, but it's okay, that's just part of life." She tried to respond cheerfully, but her eyes betrayed the pressure she was feeling. After dinner, as the boys played on the couch, Clara decided she needed someone to talk to. She picked up her phone and called her friend Isabella, who had always been a source of support. "Hi, Isa. Can you come over for a bit? I really need a shoulder to lean on." Isabella arrived quickly and, seeing Clara, could tell something was wrong. "What happened? You look overwhelmed," Isabella asked as they sat on the couch. "It's work. Roberto is getting harder to deal with, and I feel like I'm sinking. On top of that, the bills are piling up. I don't know how to handle it all," Clara confided, her voice trembling. "You need to talk to him, Clara. You can't keep going like this. This pressure isn't good for you," Isabella said, concerned. "I know, but what if it costs me my job? I don't know what I'd do. Even though I know I should be braver, I'm scared," Clara admitted, uncertainty filling her eyes. Isabella held her friend's hand and looked her in the eyes. "What you need most is support. You're not alone, and you need to remember that." Meanwhile, Lucas was talking to his best friend, Raphael, at a nearby bar. They often met when Lucas needed advice. Deep in thought, Lucas began to share what he was dealing with. "Rafa, I'm thinking about how to help an employee at my restaurant. She deserves to be treated much better, and I feel terrible about what's happening. But what exactly are you planning to do? You can't just show up unannounced and reveal you're the owner. That could cause chaos," Raphael interrupted. "You need to think this through more carefully." "I know, but she's such a great employee, and the manager just treats her terribly. That's something I can change, but I don't want Clara to get hurt any more than she already is. She's struggling every single day," Lucas explained, frustration clear in his voice. "Have you considered that revealing yourself might be a bad idea? She might feel even more pressured or even betrayed if she finds out everything all at once. Sometimes the truth is harder to handle than you think," Raphael advised, taking a sip of his drink. Lucas sighed, reflecting on his friend's words. "So what do you suggest? Should I just sit back and watch while things get even worse?" "No, but you need to be smart about it. Maybe you can help by making gradual changes. It doesn't have to be dramatic, and when the time is right, you can tell her the truth," Raphael suggested, his tone a mix of concern and friendship. Lucas sat in silence, pondering the advice Raphael had given him. There was truth in his words. Maybe there was a way to take action without being too abrupt. The real challenge was figuring out how to make those changes without exposing his identity or causing Clara more harm. Meanwhile, Clara was still deep in thought. After her conversation with Isabella, she felt a little lighter, but the weight of her responsibilities still lingered. Sitting on the couch with her hands clasped, she looked at her twins, who were now peacefully asleep. "I want a better future for you," she murmured, feeling a spark of determination and hope ignite within her. Deep down, she knew she needed to fight for more, not just for herself, but for her children too. Sometimes you just need to take the first step. Clara recalled something Isabella had said. Could she do it? And how could she overcome the fear that was holding her back? In the days that followed, Lucas kept visiting the restaurant, paying even closer attention to how Clara interacted with the customers. He noticed that many of the people seated in her section seemed comfortable and happy. Clara treated everyone with a smile and a patience that didn't show any signs of wear. This only made Lucas admire her strength even more. "Hey, Clara," Lucas called out when he saw her approaching. "How was your day today?" "A little better, but the work is still tough. The pressure never stops," she admitted, sighing as she straightened the tables. "And at home? How are the boys?" Lucas asked, trying to steer the conversation to something lighter. "They're doing well, thank God. Joao has started drawing, and Miguel is learning how to count. They make me smile, even on the hardest days," Clara replied, her face lighting up as she talked about her sons. "That's wonderful. Taking care of them is the most important thing, and it sounds like you're doing an amazing job," Lucas said, feeling their connection grow stronger with every conversation. Still, in moments like these, Lucas couldn't help but think about the plans he was starting to put together. He was becoming more convinced that he needed to do something about the injustice Clara and others like her were facing. The fight was just beginning. Even so, Lucas knew the real challenge lay ahead. He needed to be smart and come up with a plan that would work. His focus would remain on Clara and her vision of a better future. The support of his friends and the growing bond he shared with Clara motivated him to keep going, even when the obstacles seemed overwhelming. It was a Thursday when Lucas decided it was time to act. He had spent days planning a special meeting with all the restaurant staff, and his anxiety was palpable. As he prepared, he kept thinking about how the surprise could change the work environment and, most importantly, help Clara. "This is going to work," he murmured to himself as he reviewed the message he had sent to everyone. At the restaurant, Clara was getting ready for another day of work when she received the notification about the meeting. She was in the kitchen, helping organize deliveries. "Clara, did you see this? The restaurant owner called a meeting for tomorrow," Anna, a coworker, said while mixing a salad. "Yes, I saw it. Do you know what it's about?" "I was wondering if it's something serious," Clara replied, feeling a cloud of uncertainty hanging over her. "Maybe it's about the complaints we've been hearing, or something to do with Roberto," Anna suggested, looking concerned. "I hope so. I was thinking that if it's being brought up, it could be good or very bad," Clara said, reflecting on the tense atmosphere everyone had been working under. Other employees joined the conversation, and soon everyone was speculating about what might be happening. No one could shake the idea that it might have something to do with the manager, Roberto. The whispers in the back of the kitchen filled the air with anxiety. "Maybe it's time to ask for changes, who knows?" one employee said, almost hopefully. The others nodded but remained skeptical, as the fear of retaliation loomed large. On the day of the meeting, everyone gathered in the small break room. Lucas observed the faces of his employees, noticing the apprehension in the air. "Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. This meeting is really important to me," he began, trying to maintain a calm tone. The employees were restless when Lucas entered the meeting room. What was he doing there? The whispers started in every corner, and the air was thick with uncertainty and speculation, especially for Clara. "This doesn't feel good," Clara whispered to Anna, who stood beside her. Anna gave a nervous smile and simply nodded, unsure of what to say. Lucas took a deep breath, sensing the tension in the room, and continued. "I imagine many of you are wondering why I'm here. Let me get straight to the point. My name is Lucas Martins. I'm the owner of this restaurant chain. I came here undercover to understand what's been happening. After observing for some time, I realized we need significant changes. I want each of you to feel comfortable sharing your opinions. You are all essential to this restaurant," he said, his voice steady with determination. The room buzzed with murmurs. The employees exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of what to make of the situation. No one felt comfortable speaking up, and Clara, in particular, was stunned. So Lucas pretended to be just a customer, she thought, questioning his true intentions. Why had he chosen to approach her this way? Clara's mind was swirling with questions, and confusion overtook her. What did he really want? What else might be at stake with this revelation? Her uncertainty made her anxious, and the atmosphere in the room reflected her state of mind. Everyone was eager to understand the real meaning behind Lucas's unexpected presence at the meeting. That's when Roberto realized his job was in jeopardy after Lucas's revelation and promptly tried to flatter him. "I always suspected there was something special about you, Lucas. Your demeanor always showed leadership," Roberto said, smiling in a forced way as he approached. "Enough, Roberto," Lucas interrupted, his voice firm. "Things are going to change here, and the first change is removing you from the management of this restaurant. You're fired. Leave immediately." Lucas's statement brought a mix of relief and apprehension among the employees. No one truly liked Roberto, but there were doubts about who would take his place. "You won't survive without me," Roberto shouted, his voice brimming with anger. "This place runs because of me. Actually, Roberto, we'll do much better without you. Now, please leave my restaurant. HR will contact you to discuss the details of your departure," Lucas said, maintaining his calm and composure. Roberto tried to argue but found no support. He left the restaurant defeated, while the room fell into an eerie silence. The employees were stunned, full of questions about what would come next. Lucas made it clear that change was coming, but how would it unfold? Uncertainty lingered in the air, and while everyone was curious, no one dared to break the silence to ask questions. The anticipation was palpable as they waited for the next steps and updates on the restaurant's management. The atmosphere in the meeting room was charged after Lucas's revelation and Roberto's dismissal. Clara was frozen for a moment, processing the fact that the man she had spoken to so many times, the man she had seen as just a regular customer, was actually the owner of the restaurant. She felt a confusing mix of emotions: surprise, hurt, and a growing admiration for his courage. He could have handled this in so many ways, but he chose to go undercover. Why? Clara wondered as the murmurs continued around her. Her heart was racing, and her mind was flooded with questions. What did this mean for her? What did Lucas really want? As the room buzzed with activity, Lucas noticed Clara's silence. He approached her. "Clara, I know this is a lot to take in. It wasn't easy for me either. Believe me, I had my reasons," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. Clara felt a tightness in her chest, mixed with a surge of distrust. "But why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning? Why hide?" she asked, her voice slightly trembling. There was a hint of hurt in her words, and she couldn't hold it back. "I needed to see how things really worked here. I wanted to get to know the team and understand what you go through every day. With the pressure from the manager, I knew many of you didn't feel comfortable speaking up." Lucas explained, trying to justify himself. It made sense, but Clara still felt torn. "So, everything we went through together wasn't real? Were you just observing me?" she asked, the pain evident in her voice. "No, Clara, that's not how I see it. Everything I did, every interaction we had was real. I admire your determination and your work ethic. You care about every customer, and that makes all the difference," Lucas replied, his gaze intense and sincere. She felt a small spark of hope hearing this, but the distrust still consumed her. "And now, what's going to happen? With Roberto gone, does that mean everything will change? Be realistic, Lucas. How can you promise things will be different?" "I understand your concern, Clara. Change doesn't happen overnight, but I'm committed to making it happen. And today, I want to offer you something special," Lucas began. The tension in the room started to ease as everyone focused on his words. Clara raised an eyebrow, feeling her nerves rise again. "What do you mean by something special?" "I want to offer you the manager position. You deserve this opportunity. Your work ethic and character are exactly what we need to change the culture of this place," Lucas explained, his tone firm. A silence filled the room. Clara was speechless, her heart racing. "Me? But I don't have any experience as a manager. I'm just a waitress." Her insecurity was clear in her voice. "You can be a manager who doesn't just give orders, but truly understands the work. You already have a natural leadership ability. And most importantly, you care. You know how to make people feel valued, and that's what really matters," Lucas said. Clara looked around at her colleagues. They all had expressions of encouragement and support, but she was still battling her own insecurities. "What if I can't do it? What if everything goes wrong? She asked, her vulnerability clear. What if it goes right? Lucas asked, a hopeful smile forming on his face. This is your chance to shine, Clara. You don't have to do it alone. I'll be by your side. Together, we can create an environment where everyone feels respected and happy. Clara's eyes filled with tears as she thought about what Lucas was offering. It was more than just a position. It was a chance to change her life and the environment around her. But even so, the idea scared her. I need to think about it, Clara said, her voice breaking as she turned to look out the window, trying not to let the tears fall. Lucas stepped a little closer. I understand, and I don't want you to decide right now, but know that I'll fully support you. Not just you, but your ideas too. Together, we can make this work. The employees around them began to stand, and a wave of support swept through the room. You've got this, Clara, one colleague said. You're the best choice. Yes, we believe in you, another employee added, and Clara felt a warmth in her chest as she realized she wasn't alone. The support she was receiving was genuine and touched her deeply. Clara took a deep breath, trying to process all the emotions. Thank you, everyone. You have no idea how much this means to me, she said, her voice trembling. But I never imagined myself in a position like this. All I know is serving tables and making sure everyone has a good meal. And you're amazing at that. But being a manager doesn't mean you need to change who you are. What you already do, respecting others and creating connections, is what makes a great leader. Lucas assured her, sensing her confidence beginning to grow. Clara looked at Lucas, the man who had unexpectedly changed her life. Why do you believe in me so much? She asked, still full of doubt and insecurity. Because I see something in you that many others don't. An incredible strength. You're the definition of perseverance. And above all, you care about your kids and the people around you. That shows in everything you do, he replied, his gaze genuine and direct. A silence fell over the room as Clara absorbed Lucas's words. What he said seemed to come from a deep place, and she began to imagine what it would be like to take on the role of manager, even though her mind was still a storm of questions and fears. I really want to make changes here, but I can't lose focus on my boys. They come first, Clara expressed, her concern evident. And that's exactly what we all admire about you. Your children are your strength, and they'll want a mom who shines and fights for her dreams. The manager position could be a way for you to build a better future, not just for yourself, but for them too, Lucas emphasized. His words seemed to touch something deep within her heart. I want to try, but I can't promise I'll be perfect, Clara said, finally opening herself up to the possibility. Don't worry about perfection. What matters is that you allow yourself to try and grow. We'll all be here to support you. Let's build a strong team where everyone feels valued, Lucas encouraged, sensing she was taking an important step forward. Lucas's words brought a hesitant smile to Clara's face. Maybe this is my chance to really make a difference, she thought, as the idea began to take shape in her mind. When you're ready, we can sit down and discuss how to start implementing some changes. How about we brainstorm ideas together? Lucas suggested warmly. Yes, of course, I'd like that, Clara finally replied, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement blooming inside her. With a new sense of determination, Clara turned to her colleagues, now sure that they would be part of her journey. Thank you for believing in me. I'm ready to do my best, and I hope we can all work together to make this place something special. Clara's words were met with applause and cheers of support. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The employees were energized by the idea of a fresh start, a new chapter not only for Clara, but for all of them. As Lucas watched the scene, he grew more convinced that supporting Clara had been the right choice. This was her time to shine, and he hoped that together, they could transform the restaurant and create an environment where every employee felt valued and respected. Let's have some fun with those who only read the comments. Write Pepsi Cola in the comments. Only those who make it this far will understand. Now back to the story. Although the journey was just beginning, Clara felt she had the strength and support to move forward. Deep down, she knew she had gained more than just a new job. She had found new hope, a new purpose, and she was ready to embark on this new adventure, not just as a determined mother, but as a leader on the rise. After a tumultuous day filled with revelations, Clara sat at her kitchen table, watching the twins as they played with their building blocks. The decision to accept the manager position was still fresh in her mind, and she felt as though she was about to embark on an unknown journey, full of challenges and opportunities. Will I be good enough? Clara wondered, her heart heavy with the responsibility she was about to take on. She knew that becoming the new manager would mean not only changes to her work routine, but also to her personal life, something João and Miguel would undoubtedly feel. She smiled as she watched Miguel trying to build a tall tower with his blocks, while João carefully arranged the colors into a perfect pattern. I hope I can be a manager they'd be proud of, Clara whispered, more to herself than to the boys. The memory of Lucas's support and belief in her came to mind, warming her heart. Yet, doubts about trust and second chances lingered. The fact that Lucas had hidden his identity was still something she needed to process, but she couldn't deny that he seemed sincere in his intentions to change the restaurant. Despite everything, Clara began to see second chances as a gift. We all make mistakes. Maybe this is my chance to start over and move forward. Lucas seems genuinely interested in being an ally, Clara thought, letting herself examine the possibilities with optimism. The next day, Clara had a meeting scheduled with Lucas to discuss the first steps in restructuring the restaurant. As she walked toward his office, a wave of nervousness turned into determination. It was time to see how they could transform the place together. When Clara entered the room, Lucas was organizing some papers on his desk. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Clara, I'm so glad you came. Please have a seat," he said, motioning toward a chair nearby. "Thank you, Lucas," Clara replied as she sat down, trying to steady her racing heart. "I've been thinking a lot about what we discussed and how we can make the restaurant a better place for everyone." Lucas nodded, clearly pleased. "I'm happy to hear that. I want you to know you'll have full support to implement your ideas. This is the moment to build a healthy and respectful work environment." Clara took a deep breath, finding courage in his words. "I think we can start with some simple changes, like offering training sessions for the team so everyone feels like they're growing in their roles." "Perfect. I think that will give everyone a sense of value and personal growth." "And what about the work environment? Is there anything you think we should address right away?" Lucas asked, listening intently. "Yes, I think we need to work on communication among everyone. Holding regular meetings could help keep everyone on the same page and avoid misunderstandings," Clara suggested, feeling more confident as she shared her ideas. Lucas immediately agreed. "That sounds like a great way to make sure everyone feels heard and included. Your perspective is really refreshing, Clara." She smiled, feeling energized. The shadows of doubt began to fade in the face of Lucas's evident support. "And about strategies to attract more customers? I was thinking about local campaigns that could highlight our signature dishes and the welcoming atmosphere we want to create," Clara proposed. "That's absolutely perfect. We need to let customers know about the new environment we're building," Lucas responded, impressed by her initiative. As the meeting continued, Clara felt the barriers between them breaking down. Lucas was no longer just a boss. He was a genuine ally, someone determined to build something bigger and better alongside her. When the meeting ended, Clara stood up, grateful for the clear direction and tangible support she felt. "Thank you, Lucas. I know we have a long road ahead, but I feel encouraged by all of this," she said sincerely. "And I'm grateful to have you by my side on this journey. Together, we'll make it work," Lucas replied, his tone filled with conviction and optimism. As Clara left the office, she realized the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face it with courage and confidence. Not just for herself, but to create a brighter future for her children and for the entire team now depending on her leadership. Clara was determined to turn the restaurant into a place where everyone felt valued and part of a big family. When she got home, Clara felt reinvigorated. Ideas were flowing, and the anxiety she'd felt earlier had been replaced by a sense of purpose. She knew she'd have to balance her new responsibilities with her personal life, but she was confident she could make it work. That night, as she put her boys to bed, Clara thought about how unpredictable life could be. In just a few days, everything she knew had changed. Yet here she was, ready to face a new challenge with the support of Lucas and her team. After the twins finally fell asleep, Clara sat quietly in the darkness of their room, reflecting on how far she'd come, on the struggles and the victories. She knew the road ahead would be full of obstacles, but also opportunities. With a deep sigh and a contented smile, Clara got up, tucking the blanket snugly around João and Miguel's peaceful little bodies. She felt grateful for second chances, for those who believed in her, and for being in a position to show that, with determination and support, anyone can achieve great things. As she lay down that night, Clara finally felt ready for whatever the future held. She was confident not just in what she would accomplish as a manager, but in the lessons she would pass on to her children. That dreams are possible, and that determination and kindness should never be underestimated. The restaurant would become not just a workplace, but a space for growth, change, and hope for everyone. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Clara woke up feeling excited but nervous. The new responsibility weighed on her shoulders, but she was determined. After getting ready and preparing breakfast, she looked at the twins and smiled. She thought about how this was a new chapter, and how she was now truly ready to make a difference at work. At the restaurant, Clara was determined to change the atmosphere. As soon as she arrived, she took a quick look around the space, imagining how the tables could be arranged to feel more welcoming. "Good morning, team," she called out as she entered, while the staff watched her with anticipation. "Good morning, Clara," everyone replied in unison, some still appearing a bit hesitant. Clara could sense the anxiety in the room, but also noticed a renewed energy in the air. "I'd like to meet with everyone in the next few minutes. I have some ideas I'd like to share," Clara said with confidence in her voice. During the meeting, Clara spoke about the importance of open communication and teamwork. "I want this to be a place where everyone feels valued. We can achieve that together. Let's start having weekly meetings to discuss what each of us can do to contribute and improve our work environment," she explained, watching her colleagues' reactions. Some staff members began nodding and smiling, encouraged to share their thoughts. "That sounds great, Clara. It's something we've all needed," said Anna, one of the senior waitresses. "I've been thinking about some ways we could improve our service techniques." "Wonderful. Bring your ideas next week. I want to hear from everyone," Clara replied enthusiastically. She could feel her confidence growing with each word. It felt as though she had finally found her place. After the meeting, Lucas approached Clara with a supportive smile. "You did a great job leading that meeting. The team seems genuinely excited about your proposals," he said. "Thank you, Lucas. I feel like I'm starting to see the difference we can make together, and it was great to see the team so receptive," she responded, her eyes lighting up with optimism. "And I can see how much you're growing. You're becoming a natural leader," he remarked, watching her with admiration. Clara felt a warm blush rise to her cheeks at his words. As the days passed, Clara adapted to her new role, and her working relationship with Lucas deepened. They collaborated closely, sharing ideas and developing new strategies for the restaurant. Lucas often stopped by Clara's office to discuss plans, and with each conversation, the connection between them grew stronger. One afternoon, as they reviewed a new menu, Clara glanced at Lucas. "You know, I was thinking about adding a new dessert. Something that reflects our identity, maybe. A chocolate cake with a special twist," she suggested, smiling. "That sounds delicious, but what would make it special?" Lucas asked, his gaze steady on hers. The energy between them made Clara feel a flutter in her stomach. "Maybe some orange zest? To give it a fresh touch," Clara thought aloud, her eyes meeting his. In that moment, they both sensed something deeper between them, something beyond the professional realm. Their connection continued to grow, and their interactions became increasingly personal. One evening, as the staff was preparing to close, Clara turned to Lucas and said, "You've been such a great support to me. I don't know how I would have managed all this without you." Lucas smiled, sincerity evident in his expression. "I'm just doing my part, but I'm also amazed by the strength you've shown. You should be proud of yourself." "I am, but it's not just that. Having someone like you by my side has made all the difference, Clara admitted, the warmth of their closeness deepening the conversation. Lucas hesitated for a moment, as if carefully choosing his words. Clara, you're an incredible woman and have become such an important part of not only the restaurant but also my life. I feel like what we have is something really special. Her heart raced. She couldn't deny that there was something more between them, something that had grown both personally and professionally. So many changes. I didn't expect this, but it's been wonderful, Clara said with a shy smile. I feel like I'm finally finding my way, and you've been such an essential part of that. The tension in the air was almost tangible as Lucas held her gaze. He stepped a little closer. If you're open to it, I'd like to explore this connection further. Not just as colleagues, but something more. I feel there's a chemistry between us we can't ignore. Clara felt the butterflies in her stomach stir again. Lucas, I feel it too. But this is all so new. I'm adjusting to being a manager and balancing my life with the boys. I don't want anything to interfere with that, she replied, her voice tinged with hesitation. I understand, but I don't want this to feel like pressure for you. I'm willing to wait as long as you need. At the same time, I want you to know that I'm here to support you in every aspect of your life, Lucas said, his voice calm and reassuring. Clara looked at him, her heart racing. That means a lot to me. I'm just worried about what might happen if we mix work and personal life. I don't want to make things complicated for you or the team. I know you're cautious, and I'd love for us to get to know each other better outside of work. Maybe we could go out for coffee or dinner one day. No pressure, just two people spending time together, Lucas suggested. The idea felt good but also made her nervous. That would be nice, yes. We can talk about it more, but I need some time to think, Clara replied, allowing herself to imagine a lighter, happier future with him. Of course. No pressure. Just let me know when you're ready, Lucas said with a smile. He stepped back slightly, giving Clara space to process what was happening, while still making it clear he was there for her. That night, as Clara tucked her boys into bed, her thoughts were more focused on Lucas than anything else. What if we start seeing each other? Will it affect my ability to lead? She wondered to herself. She needed more time to reflect and consider this new development in their lives. As the new week unfolded, Clara continued implementing positive changes at the restaurant. The team was excited and engaged, and everyone seemed closer, creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere. As she dedicated herself to her work, the energy and workflow noticeably improved. Clara realized that, with Lucas, she was starting to create a space where everyone could thrive. They brainstormed new ideas together, which became increasingly enjoyable. And they were becoming not just colleagues, but close friends. One day, while reviewing team feedback, she looked deeply into Lucas's eyes and thought about all they had built together. Do you really believe we can make this place an example of respect and camaraderie? Clara asked sincerely. I don't just believe it, Clara. I know we can. Look at how the team has responded to your ideas. What you've brought to the table is crucial to their success, Lucas replied with confidence. You're the reason everything is coming together. At that moment, Clara realized she was building not just a professional relationship with Lucas, but something that went beyond work. The connection between them was evident in the care and support they gave each other, growing stronger with each passing day. Lucas, I feel ready to explore what we could build together, Clara admitted, her voice filled with determination. Lucas's smile widened with excitement. Are you sure? Are you really ready to take that step? Yes, I am, Clara replied, clear and unwavering. Moved by the joy of the moment, Lucas pulled Clara close and kissed her passionately, sealing the start of a new chapter in their lives. The kiss was gentle yet full of promises, a connection that transcended the professional and entered the emotional, marking the beginning of a journey filled with hope and new possibilities. Clara and Lucas's lives had changed in ways they never imagined. After embracing their love for each other, they discovered how well they balanced one another, both personally and professionally. Under Clara's leadership, the restaurant was thriving, and the team felt motivated and inspired. Clara and Lucas were more than just partners at work. They were a couple who supported each other every step of the way. On a special evening, Lucas decided it was time to take their relationship to the next level. He wanted to celebrate not just the love they shared, but also the new life they were building together. "Clara, do you remember the first time we talked about our dreams?" Lucas asked, holding her hand as they walked through the local park. "Of course. You talked about wanting a restaurant where everyone felt welcome and happy. And I said I wanted to make a difference in people's lives," Clara said, her face lighting up with a smile. "Exactly. I believe that together, we're making those dreams come true. Every day with you makes me feel like we're stronger together," Lucas said, stopping to face Clara, now holding both her hands. "Lucas, you've made me believe in myself again. I never thought I could be this happy or have someone by my side who truly understands me," Clara replied, her heart racing. Lucas took a deep breath and pulled a small box from his pocket. "I want you to know how much you mean to me," he said, opening the box to reveal a beautiful engagement ring. "Clara, will you marry me?" Clara's expression shifted instantly from surprise to pure joy. "Oh, Lucas, it's beautiful. Yes, of course, I want to marry you." Tears of happiness streamed down her face as she looked at him, overwhelmed with emotion. Lucas placed the ring on her finger, and they embraced, wrapped in a wave of love and hope. "I can't wait to build our life together and start a family," Lucas said, gazing into her eyes. The wedding ceremony took place a few months later on a lovely spring afternoon. Friends and family gathered to witness Clara and Lucas's union. The restaurant where they had met was transformed into a magical setting, filled with flowers and twinkling lights. As Clara walked in, her eyes sparkled when she saw Lucas waiting with a radiant smile. The air was filled with love and emotion. During the ceremony, they gazed deeply into each other's eyes, pledging to stand by one another through all the challenges and joys to come. "Lucas, I promise to stand by your side in every moment, facing challenges and celebrating joys with love and understanding," Clara said, her words touching everyone present. "And I promise to be your support, your partner in life and love, respecting who you are and all that you represent," Lucas replied sincerely, his voice filled with love and devotion. After exchanging vows and being officially pronounced husband and wife, the celebration began. Everyone danced and enjoyed the night, rejoicing in the love the couple had found. A few weeks after the wedding, Clara decided it was time to share some exciting news. Gathering friends and family at their home, Clara looked at Lucas, her heart pounding. "Thank you all for being here today. We have some very special news to share," Clara began, smiling nervously. "Lucas and I are expecting a baby. We're so excited to begin this new chapter in our lives." Cheers and applause filled the room as everyone celebrated the joyous announcement. Clara and Lucas hugged amid the warmth of the congratulations, overwhelmed by the love surrounding them. Later that night, as they reflected on how their lives were unfolding, Clara and Lucas knew they could face any challenge together. "This reminds me of how important it is to believe in the best in people, and how, by supporting one another, we can achieve what once seemed impossible," Clara said, her eyes filled with hope. Lucas looked at her with admiration. "Exactly. Moral values and honesty are essential, and this love we share strengthens us every day." Clara smiled at Lucas's words, looking at the twins playing happily nearby, and then at Lucas, who watched her with a radiant smile. With a new baby on the way, the family Clara had always dreamed of was finally becoming a reality. Overwhelmed with emotion, Clara embraced the twins and Lucas, and in that moment, everything felt perfect. "We're all together, and that's what matters most," she said warmly. The sense of security and unity filled their home, giving Clara an indescribable peace. She knew life would have its ups and downs, but with love as their foundation, nothing could bring them down. Together, they were building a future where dreams became reality every day. As they looked out the window at the vast horizon, accompanied by the sound of the twins' laughter, Clara and Lucas knew the future held many wonderful things. Ready for all of it, they were prepared to face whatever came their way, hand in hand, guided by love every step of the way. What did you think of Lucas and Clara's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What's your score? Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to keep up with all our stories. And don't miss out on more heartwarming tales by clicking on the end screen.